Welcome to the Retro Blood.
You are all my children now.
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets splintered? You got any idea how much blood jets out of a guy's neck?
You've come back to us, Michael. Seekers, stop the rage.
Not so fast, brown boy. We're gonna have some laughs.
Gives the dead the appearance of life.
Oh, it is not the appearance of life, it is life. This is not magic. As you say, I am a scientist.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Get me back my head! Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we finish up our January 2024 month talking all about 1980s horror comedy. That's right. If y'all like sand snakes that have stripes on them that look super cool that you buy at Spirit Halloween nowadays, if you like Batman acting like a crazy molded comedy creature demon that you can't say his name, if y'all like young Winona Ryder, gothic phase Winona Ryder, if y'all like great acting, funny storyline, super cool props, then this is the review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is doing Beetlejuice. Jay Allison, James Kahn, what is happening, Allison? How are you doing at the end of our horror comedy month? Have you got your fill of comedy for the whole month?
Man, I've got so much of a fill that we don't ever have to do this again.
Oh, come on, we can bring it back.
Full up with horror comedy. Holy shit! Like, at least this movie was good.
Yeah, this one was really good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
I was gonna say the middle two movies made the first movie look pretty good too.
I know. It's like watching something from the dumpster and then getting some sort of like magic, release over here. It's fucking crazy. But Beetlejuice to me is a very fascinating movie because we have Tim Burton at this particular point is going to be making some film gold over here. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be doing this movie. He's going to be doing the Batman and Batman Returns, I believe. And he's going to be doing, Nightmare Before Christmas is coming up here. We have Edward Scissorhands. Like, this guy is about to pull out a lot of fucking gold,
Yeah, well, Nightmare Before Christmas wouldn't come for a few more years.
Yeah. Like I was saying, like in after this movie, in his pipeline, like shit that he's going to be pushing out, it's going to be like some sort of, movie gold over here.
True. But and one thing I noticed about when I was researching this movie was he had already been picked to direct Batman before he made this movie.
Yeah.
So they picked him to direct Batman based on his Pee-wee's Big Adventure work, which was his first movie, which I thought was interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, when we talk about who booked this shit, I have more to say about that, but we'll get to it.
There's a lot. When it comes to this movie. When it comes to the cast of the movie, the way the movie was, structured, where it was originally going to be a little bit more darker than it turned out to be. Just like some of the relationships that got built on the cast. Michael Keaton's work on this film pretty much helped him land the role of Batman. So there's a lot when it comes to this Beetlejuice movie. And this one, like I was saying a little bit last week for the teaser, like this one kind of hits me good because I remember watching this movie when I was a youngster. All right. And I've always loved this movie. I thought it was a very fun, something about like Tim Burton's films are just like this, it's like you're going inside this guy's crazy mind or something. Like he has like a certain style of like set, props, and story that's like, it's just, quirky, weird and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like how John Carpenter kind of has his own style when it comes to like his movie making with the sound, the effects, and the structure of the film. Tim Burton's very similar, where he has like his own flavor, his own style that he does with a lot of his films.
Yeah, he's really good at getting a look for movies.
Yeah.
which I feel like he would kind of lose in a few years, but at this point, he still has that look. And all of his movies look like Tim Burton movies. I was going to say they all look the same, but that's not exactly what I mean. They all look like Tim Burton movies.
Yeah.
But then by the time he got to like, even when he started making like Big Fish and then Planet of the Apes and things like that, like they were just, there was something about the magic of Tim Burton that was lost. But in this period, like Tim Burton is just like, it's just magic.
Yeah,
like it's great.
Yeah, because he's going to push this out. He's going to push out the Batman. I mean, like I said, this guy at this point in his career right now, he's about to push out a lot of gold over here. So, and it's very interesting seeing Michael Keaton in this film too. So we'll talk a little bit more about that on the Who Booked This Shit. But like on every Retro Blood, we talk about what is going on in the world of the metal and the pro wrestling around the release date of this film, which is March 30th, 1988. So we're back in the 88s, brother. I mean, come on. We got fucking Saturday the 14th Strikes Back, and then we got Beetlejuice. I mean, come on. What more do you need in your life around 1988, brother? Okay. So, the reason we talk about pro wrestling and the metal, because they all go together. And don't say they don't, because when I was watching Beetlejuice, I saw in the background that the wife was watching pro wrestling. Did I not, Allison? Did you see it?
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
So there you go. All right. And I want to bring up something else, too. When I go to some of these horror cons, which I might be going to one in February, we'll see. Maybe I'll get some interviews out there. They book pro wrestlers to sign at those horror cons. So they go together, everybody. All right? Don't tell me they don't. And so does the metal music. We just like metal music because we like the rock out on here. But there's a couple interesting things. So the first thing I want to bring up, though, is we are going to be talking about this March month a lot here on the Retro Blood. Because there are some pretty cool movies that came out around this time that we haven't talked about yet. All right, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. Just to give you guys an example, we have Maniac Cop, which I want to do. Super bad. Yep. I did that show on one of my old podcasts before, and I love that movie. It's great. We actually have that one booked pretty soon. There's a movie called Evil Clutch.
Right.
There's a great one that I'm surprised we haven't done yet. Jack-O-Lantern. All right, we might have to say that one for
we'll get there.
Yeah, that one's pretty fun too. So there's I believe the Blob might have came out this month too, but I'm not exactly sure. That could be something else. But like I said, we're gonna be talking about this month again because there's a lot of fun movies that came around this time. Destroyer, Death House Dolls and shit. So should be pretty wild.
Yes. But March of '88 was a great month.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on. And so the biggest thing I want to talk about, I'll go on the wrestling first because I'm going to have to make this a little short because I really want to dedicate some time. We'll probably have to do it on the lights out to March of 1988 because Allison and everybody, do you realize what happened on March of 1988? Two big events happened around this time. We had...
I feel like I should know.
Oh, once I tell you, you'll be like, whoa, okay. So we had on March 27th, 1988, just a couple days, 3 days before Beetlejuice aired in theaters, we had WrestleMania 4 and Clash of the Champions 1 head-to-head.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, there's just so much to talk about when it comes to these two events. It's crazy. So, the first one, WrestleMania 4, this was the big tournament, WrestleMania, where if you all remember, we talked about this match before with Andre versus Hulk Hogan on that Saturday night special, Saturday night's main event special that they had. And it's the one where they had the referee who changed his face to look like the other referee, even though it was just Dave Hebner and his brother. And it was the one where Andre won the belt and he gave it to Ted DiBiase. And then what happened was the commission, the community, the belt or the community, all right, they said that wasn't legal for him to do it. So they put the belt up for grabs and they put it up for this tournament at WrestleMania 4. Now, the backstage reason they did this was because Hulk Hogan was going to be taking some time off. I believe he was like filming a movie. I just can't remember what movie he was filming around this time. Was it No Holds Barred? It might have been.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. No Holds Barred was a 1988 or 89 movie, so that's about right.
But it's just weird though, because I guess like they took him off him because he wouldn't. Because okay, so it's so weird nowadays thinking like this. So check this one out, everybody, for like new wrestling fans. So they had to take the belt off Hulk Hogan because he was filming a movie because he wouldn't be at every house show. That is crazy to think of nowadays because Roman Reigns barely even shows up, and he has the belt for like years and years. So they had
you didn't have part-time champions then like you do now.
Which is crazy to think because if anybody could have been a part-time champion in the 80s, it's probably Hulk Hogan because, he's just that big of a star. It's not like anybody's going to leave. But it's just the way the wrestling business was structured in the 80s was way different than how it is now. You know what I mean? Because, like we were saying before, most of the revenue came from the shows, the live attendance. All right? So that's
exactly.
And obviously you need a top star like your Hulk Hogan to fill in the top, performances and to get the butts in the seats, an ass every square 5 inches or whatever. All right. So that's why go ahead.
No, I was going to say. So I'm guessing that's why they had to do that because Hogan wouldn't be at the house shows, so people wouldn't go to them.
Yeah.
But also now the way they would look at it is if Roman Reigns is in a movie, then people might watch wrestling because he's also on that.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the 80s, wrestling was so big that, Vince McMahon thought wrestling was bigger than movies, which at the time he was probably right.
Yeah, some of it, yeah. Well, I mean, so, this is also an interesting period because this is right after WrestleMania 3. All right? Mm-hmm. So, obviously Hulk Hogan and Andre did the biggest house, for a long time for WrestleMania 3. And then next year at WrestleMania 4, they would go back-to-back, number 4 and number 5 at the Trump Plaza. All right? Mm-hmm. And boy, Donald Trump was all over this show. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, I'm thinking that me and you might go more into detail on these two back-to-back shows, maybe in March. We might do it for a special Lights Out. But the biggest thing about this was, because there's just so much to talk about when it comes to these two shows, why they're going up against each other. I mean, we could talk all about the first Clash of the Champions with Sting versus Ric Flair in Greensboro. And we're going back to Greensboro for fucking Sting's last match. I mean, there's just so much history when it comes to these two shows. It's pretty crazy. It's also crazy, too, how big of a rating the first Sting and Ric Flair match did, going head-to-head against WrestleMania. So it's just crazy. And it's crazy to see, too, Hulk Hogan's on the show, and he's in the tournament, but he loses the tournament match to Andre, and it just, like, a lot of, like, scuffle stuff happens, and later on we're going with Macho Man for a whole year to be the champion because he was pretty much babyface number 2. And then the next year's WrestleMania built all the way to the superpowers colliding with Macho Man versus Hulk. And that's actually one of the best storylines the WWF ever did. So this is a really hot period for the E right now. And it's a fun period for Crockett too because we're having a new star being built as in Sting. So that's why, like, if we were going to break down everything on this podcast, this shit would be like 4 hours. So that's why I kind of want to save these two shows for maybe March when we do a special Lights Out, everybody. But that's a little preview of what was going on around the release date of Beetlejuice. So, but Allison, what do you got for the metal, though? What are we listening to on our way to see Beetlejuice?
So, as we talked about, March of 1988 is an interesting month. There's a lot of movies, a lot of wrestling. There's also a lot of music coming out. So one thing that we would be talking about, and I would be annoying you to death with it because we'd be seeing the ads for it about to come out in about 3 weeks, would be the new Iron Maiden record, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. But we wouldn't have that yet. So we wouldn't be listening to that yet. I would just be annoying you with it as we drive around town in the Trans Am. What we would be listening to is a brand new record by a band called Riot. And I sent you that Riot album, Thunder Steel. Did you listen to any of it?
No, I didn't get a chance, but it sounds pretty
Very
fun,
good
though.
then. So anyway, Riot was a band so this is an American power metal album. But Riot was a band that was they're like a 70s band. They started in the 70s. They're from New York City. And when they first started, they were I guess traditional heavy metal. They just sounded like an American heavy metal band, blues based, that kind of thing. But they kind of broke up in 1984. So I think their first album came out in 77, and then they broke up in 1984. And then they kind of got back together and did another album with a different singer in 85 or 6, and then broke up again. And then this lineup is completely different. So there's the only person that's in Riot that's on this album I'm about to talk about that was in the old band was the guitar player. So the guitarist came back and started a new band with a completely different lineup, had a different singer and everything. And it sounds like Judas Priest. It's like what Judas Priest would become with Painkiller and that kind of thing. It's real heavy, real fast, double bass. So they kind of taken what they were hearing in the thrash metal world, with bands like Anthrax and Testament and stuff like that, Slayer. And then they kind of went away from a little more of they kind of embraced hair metal a little bit. They kind of went more away from that, and they were kind of taking stuff from thrash, which was still underground at this time. And they made this album called Thundersteel, which is phenomenal. It's really the only Riot album that I really like. And I guess to a lot of fans, it wouldn't be a true Riot album because, like I said, it had a completely different lineup. But it has that really high voice, the really high vocals, kind of like Queensryche or Judas Priest does. But it has a song on it. The first 2 or 3 songs are incredible. Thundersteel, Flight or Fall, and Sign of the Crimson Storm are all just incredible albums, incredible songs on this album. And it's something that people should definitely look for because it's definitely it's kind of an unknown album. It's one of those things that would be lost in time, maybe if we didn't talk about it on this show. So I wanted to document that for everyone to be able to hear. But one of the many albums that came out this month was Thundersteel by Riot, and you guys should check it out.
Yeah, check out that Thundersteel, brother. Hey, nothing wrong with power metal, man. That shit will get you going. Power metal. And Riot, they said it's a cool name. You know what I mean? Making some shit happen. So yeah, that's super fun. Yeah, we'll play a little bit after the episode on here. Give you guys a little taste of the Riot and what we'll be playing in the Trans Am, heading our way up to the Beetlejuice. So. Yeah. There's a lot to talk about with this movie, so let's get right on into it. I know it's one of our shorter history segments, but there's just so much to talk about when it comes to Beetlejuice. So obviously, who booked this shit was our boy Tim Burton, who, like you were saying at this time, he just got done filming the Pee-wee's Big Adventure. All right, and after that, he pretty much became a pretty hot, bankable director. Okay. And like you're saying, he was working on a script for Batman at this time that he was, trying to get the Beetlejuice going as well. So Burton, he was getting kind of a little bit disheartened by a lack of imagination original to the scripts he's been being sent. He particularly didn't like the movie Hot to Trot. You ever seen Hot to Trot?
Yeah, it's a talking horse movie.
Okay. So he's
that's John Candy, I think, does the voice in it, maybe.
Yeah. So he's not digging that, brother. No. So a couple things. So there was this person, Michael McDowell, which I'm not sure if it's the Michael McDowell that actor. I gotta look that up. And Larry Wilson, they formed a partnership, Pecos Production, and with their entertainment attorney Michael Bender. And then this is the Beetlejuice was their first original project. All right. And so they were developing the story, and they really wanted to give the story off to Tim Burton because they feel like he would have done a really good job with this. And they also worked, I believe it was Wilson. He's the one that worked with Burton on the script, The Jar. It was an episode of Alfred Hitchcock's Presents that Burton directed. So they worked together before, so he felt like he would be a good fit for this Beetlejuice. All right.
Yes.
So, like we were saying, at the beginning, the original script was actually far less comedic and much darker. All right. So like a lot of scenes were just like a little bit more darker, where like the car crash was more graphic. Barbara's arm was crushed, and the couple screaming for help as they slowly drowned. So you know they did references to that part, but they didn't have it on there. The possession at the dinner was way different, with a way different song that was supposed to be on there. And there was more like just more gruesome stuff that was supposed to happen on this film, but they made it a little bit. I guess while they were shooting it, they were like shooting it down to make it a little bit more, maybe in the PG-13 realm at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were trying to make it more comedic than it was like a horror movie.
So also the character, the Beetlejuice. I think they call him something else, like Beetlejuice or something.
No, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
Beetlejuice is the name of a star.
Yeah,
and that's how his name is spelled in the movie. I don't know. I'm not really sure why it's called Beetle. Well, I know why, because it's easier for people to say.
Yeah.
But they changed the name for the title. But that's how his name is spelled, like the star in the movie.
Yeah, so, they first envisioned him as a winged demon who takes on a form of a short Middle Eastern man, and his intent was to kill the Dietrichs, rather than scaring them. And he wanted sex from Lydia instead of marriage. All right, yes. In this version of the script, Beetlejuice named only be exiled from his grave to be summoned, after which he is free to wreak havoc. He cannot be summoned or controlled by saying his name 3 times, and he wanders the world freely, appearing to torment different characters in different manifestations. So, a lot different that his character was going to be. Something interesting about his character, too, was Burton's original choice for Beetlejuice was Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, that would have been weird.
Yeah. And the reason, because I guess he was thinking like he wanted to be like, one of those Las Vegas showman style characters, like more, elegant demon creature character to Beetlejuice than the wacky Michael Keaton one that we got. So yeah, that would have been really weird, but that's very interesting. But I guess when he got presented Michael Keaton, Burton was unfamiliar with Keaton's work, but he got convinced, and it actually took him like 3 tries to convince Michael Keaton to play Beetlejuice, because Michael Keaton just couldn't wrap his head around the character. Like he didn't get it. And so after a little bit, he actually started to get the character and the character's motivation. So that's why he jumped on the role.
Yeah, but like you were saying, like Tim Burton didn't want Michael Keaton at first. Like he didn't, he was convinced after he auditioned for it. But which is, I think, is really weird, because like Michael Keaton was known as a comedic actor, and I think that fit perfectly with this Beetlejuice character.
Yeah.
Now for Batman, I can understand, like the film company Warner Brothers didn't want Michael Keaton to play Batman, and I can understand that why he wouldn't want that. But like this is weird though. I mean,
Well, the reason they probably didn't want him to play Batman, because Batman's more of a serious role, and at this particular time, Michael Keaton was doing more comedy movies.
Well, no, that's exactly why. It's because they saw him as a comedic actor, but I feel like that suits this movie better than it would, it suited this movie well, which is why I think it's weird that Tim Burton didn't originally want him for this.
So, well, I think the reason was because Tim Burton just didn't know who he was until he got presented to him.
Right.
So just kind of like just one of the, maybe he never seen some of the Keaton's movies on there.
Right. Like Gung Ho.
Yes. Come on, brother. All right. Gung Ho on there. So there's a lot of like famous like actors and actresses on this movie, and there's a couple I want to bring up. So the biggest one is probably Winona Ryder. All right. She played Lydia Dietz.
Yeah.
So this is actually her breakout role right here.
Yes.
And it's pretty crazy to think that she almost didn't get it. All right, because there was another person they had in mind as well too. Alyssa Milano, yes. Yeah. She was the runner-up for the role to play Lydia. All right. And so like originally, like, they went with Ryder, and that's really good because her career pretty much like started from this. for this movie, playing the goth girl on here. Which, brother, a young '90s Greg watching this Beetlejuice movie, boy, did I have a crush on that goth girl. That's probably where all my goth girl love came from. It's probably from Beetlejuice.
I'm sure. So this was like the look, the Winona Ryder's look in this movie, like launched 1,000 goth girl ships. Like this was basically like the look that every goth girl would steal for the next decade.
Yeah, definitely. All right, there you go, man. Trendy on here. So a couple other interesting stuff about the cast was the person who played the stepmom. Okay. Dila, all right, played by Catherine O'Hara, all right.
Yeah.
And I knew Catherine O'Hara, even though she did this movie after she did this movie, was Home Alone. She was the mom on Home Alone, all right. And she was originally the person going to be cast in this role either, because she was actually going to be the person who was originally going to play this movie was the Angelique Houston, who was originally cast, but she had to drop out because of illness. And of course, she was known to be the Addams mom, Morticia, right?
Yes. Morticia. She played Morticia in the Addams Family later on.
So that'd have been interesting, little different vibe. But I actually thought this Catherine O'Hara, she did pretty good for the role. I thought she did pretty well. I was playing like the snooty, decorative, high class stepmom character. So.
Yeah, I think it would be really weird to see Angelica Houston in that role.
Yeah.
But
so, and of course, who played the dad is also another famous actor as well, who played Charles, is Jeffrey Jones. All right. And he's been known to be in a shit ton of movies, you know.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, yep. I mean, he did that one before. He even did this one. The Hunt for Red October. You know what I mean? He did that one later on. So definitely a well-known actor at this time. So the cast, like I'm saying over here, it's pretty stacked. I mean, we got some high-quality actors and actresses on this one. So definitely pretty fun. Another fun story that I heard was the set designer story from this film. All right. So the set designer, at first, the Tim Burton stuff, he wanted to hire Anton first as the production designer because he was impressed with seeing his work on a Retro Blood archive, The Company of Wolves.
Yes.
So he did that one. Plus, he did Full Metal Jacket, too, 1987, which is a crazy film. All right. But first was committed to high spirits. So a choice he either regretted. So it's either he got offered to do Beetlejuice, right? Do the whole set design, but he's like, nah, I already got this other movie, High Spirits, and then like obviously Beetlejuice, High Spirits. I mean, Beetlejuice won, and he kind of regretted it, not taking that opportunity. But you know, it happens like that sometimes. So they hired this guy, and I want to bring him up, Bo Welch. All right. And which is cool about this guy, Bo Welch, he was actually the one to do a lot of Tim Burton's awesome set designs. So they kind of formed a partnership on this movie. This is the first movie Tim Burton and him worked together on. But they would also go and do Edward Scissorhands and Batman Returns. Both have great set designs.
Yeah, but he didn't work on the original Batman, though, which was strange.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of tell because...
Yeah.
So the Batman Returns and Edward Scissorhands and this Beetlejuice movie you could tell that this guy has like his own like style. You know what I mean? Like the way it's kind of like everything. It's like the colors are very like mixed colors together, and like a lot of the sets are kind of like crooked in a way. You know, like
yeah, right. So the sets are crooked, kind of like a oh crap, what is the name of that? It left my mind. So like that, like a German expressionist movie, like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where the sets are like skewed.
Yeah.
So a lot of his stuff looks like that. But yeah, like you can definitely tell because like I don't know how to describe it, but like it has this like you're saying, like the color schemes, and then like how everything kind of looks fake because it is. I mean, it's on a set, but like Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, and Batman Returns, they all kind of look similar. The sets all kind of look similar to each other, so you can definitely tell.
It's kind of like a dream fantasy style set or something, you know, kind of like this weird cartoonish fantasy style set. It has a very like a little bit of gothic tones to it, which makes it really cool looking. So I'm really a fan of this guy's set work. I think he does a very well. You know, I think he does these sets, and he made the movie look very eye pleasing. All right. Mm-hmm. A cool thing up too about what happened with this movie between Bo Welch and Catherine O'Hara is, I guess, Tim Burton thought they would be a good match for each other, and so he set them up on a date while they were working on this movie, and the two actually hit it off and became married and had kids together. So from meeting on this movie, so that's pretty cool. So we have a little love connection that happened on the set of Beetlejuice. Obviously, we know sometimes those love connections don't go always as planned. Look to the Ant-Man 2 and what all happened with that.
Yes.
But this one worked out, so that's good. So a couple other things. So the film producers, Warner Brothers, didn't like the name Beetlejuice. All right, they wanted to
imagine that.
Yeah, no, they wanted to call it a little something different. All right, so I believe the first one was Ghost House. All right, but then like Burton and all of them were like, that shit sounds too fucking lame. It's just generic and shit.
It's very generic.
Yeah, so then like I think the other one so Burton came up with the idea. Okay, well why don't we he was just trying to do a fake name. So as a joke, he suggested, why don't we name it Scared Sheetless?
And then they almost took that.
And then they liked it.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like wrestling, like naming like a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're going to call this guy, we need a cool name, so let's come up with this character. Okay, well, what's his thing? Okay, well, he's a badass guy, he's a cold killer. Okay, well, let's call him Ice Pick. Like,
Ice Pick.
What the fuck, Ice Pick? Like, no. Right? It's like, okay, well, you don't like that one. What do you got? Well, let me just how about Frosted McFreeze? And they're like, oh, okay, we like that. Like, no, it's supposed to be a joke. So basically, I guess, like, Tim Burton, like, he got his way, because I guess he threatened to leave or something, or he did something, and he eventually got his way of the movie actually be calling Beetlejuice from there. So,
yeah.
This movie actually did really well in the box office. They spent about budget was $15 million, which was crazy because they only spent like $1 million on the effects, which is crazy to think about nowadays. You know what I mean? Like half the fucking movies nowadays, all of the fucking budget is on the effects. But but
he wanted it to look that way though.
Yeah,
purposely. He wanted it to look like a 1950s movie.
Yeah, it was a good idea. Movie made over $74.7 million at the box office. Obviously, it made more as the years went on. It won an Academy Award for Best Makeup, Saturn Award for Best Horror Film, Best Makeup, Best Supporting Actress. And the movie actually had an animated television series that started in 1989. It ran through like some of the mid 90s. There was a video game and there was also a musical.
Have you ever seen the animated series?
Yes, I was watching a little bit before we went on the air just to kind of refresh, and I believe I've seen a couple episodes before. So
it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the actual movie is,
of course,
because on the show, it's basically Lydia and Beetlejuice are like friends, and they go on like adventures together and stuff. So
yeah, which is completely different than how this movie ends.
Exactly. Yeah. And then something I didn't realize too, like I was always wondering, like why didn't this movie get a sequel? Because I mean, huge box office success. You know what I mean? Great cast, you know, a lot of fanfare behind it. I mean, we seen like these horror. I mean, fucking Saturday the 14th got a fucking sequel of all things. Why the hell did we get a Beetlejuice one?
And don't speak too soon.
Yes. Well, hold on. So, but I'm talking about like, okay, so we had like Saturday. Let's just take Saturday the 14th. That came out. The first one came out like what 91, and we
81.
had like a sequel like 6 years later. All right.
88, 87 or 88.
Yeah. So, yeah, like 7 years later. This fucking Beetlejuice, yeah, we're gonna get a sequel now in like 2024. But like, why did it take over like almost two decades to get a fucking even more? Like, it took over fucking a long time to get a sequel from this. And apparently, like, there was plans in the 90s to do a sequel. All right, like Tim Burton, all of them created like a whole draft of it was supposed to be like a Beetlejuice in Hawaii draft.
Oh wow.
So like the whole concept
that
was,
idea.
Yeah, so the whole concept was Charles and stuff. He bought some property, or he was trying to sell some property or something in Hawaii. So the whole family
Beetlejuice was?
No, Charles. The dad.
Charles. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Not Beetlejuice. Bro.
Okay, very good. Sorry.
So Charles goes out there and they all take a trip to Hawaii, and this Beetlejuice is down there and he wins some sort of surfing competition, and then he starts to haunt him through Hawaii and stuff.
That sounds fantastic. I hope the sequel is like that.
I doubt it.
Probably won't be.
No.
I doubt it.
The sequel nowadays. So there was also another concept too, to bring Beetlejuice back, later on in the 2000s. But that one kind of fell through as well too. The reason the ones in the 90s fell through is because of Tim Burton's schedule. Remember, we were saying he was making like Edward Scissorhands. He was, he's making some of the Batman movies. He's making Nightmare Before Christmas. So the schedule got too much, and I guess they kind of just dropped the whole bringing Beetlejuice back. And when I was doing I was always wondering too, and maybe you could talk about this too, Allison. So I knew Beetlejuice was a big movie, but I really didn't start seeing merchandise from Beetlejuice. I believe the first time I started seeing more merchandise from them was around like 2015 or 16 when they started to show up a lot at like Spirit and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like there's not a lot of. I think there was an action figure series based on the animated series.
Yeah,
but I don't. Yeah, there was no. Well, okay, so you got to consider too that until like maybe the 2000s. 2000 and up, late 90s maybe, the adult action figure market didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like action figures were still pretty much made for kids, but adults bought them. But then like, NECA and companies like that started making like action figures, not for kids, but for adults. And once that happened, like Beetlejuice was one of the properties that people started getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this was kind of a forgotten movie for a long time.
Yeah.
Like if you went and like everybody that likes these kind of movies knows who Tim Burton is, but if you ask them to name a Tim Burton movie, they're going to say Edward Scissorhands or Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, or like even the Batman ones too.
Maybe Batman too.
Yeah.
But merchandise for Beetlejuice is like a big deal right now, which is really good considering the new movies coming out this year, maybe.
Yeah, so I was kind of fascinated about that. I guess somehow maybe the rights were kind of like in limbo for a while, and then they sold the rights, and then that's where we get like everything known to man is out Beetlejuice, because it seems like the last couple of years when I go into like Spirit Halloween or Party City or whatever, like they just have a lot more Beetlejuice merchandise than I seen before. All right, like they have like mugs and game boards and sheets and blankets and all like everything known to man you can have a Beetlejuice. So I always thought that was pretty fascinating. And this is before like even a sequel was like announced. So a couple of things about the sequel coming out this year in 2024 supposedly. So I think there's two reasons why this movie got made when I was doing some of my research. Number one is the newfound like merchandising for Beetlejuice, I think helped out. But I didn't realize this one, Allison, and this one's going to we're about to show our age on here. Okay.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
So apparently in like 2021, I believe it was, there was like this TikTok viral video of people doing like Beetlejuice stuff.
Oh, those people.
Okay. And I had no idea about this because, like, listen, I'm new to TikTok because I'm older, man. I actually have a TikTok I just made recently. It's called Haunted Retro, where I show a lot of my videos off. They're like horror creatures or horror stuff, and they're all filmed in VHS with some creepy music in the background. Hey, it might take off. I don't know. Everybody check it out, though. Haunted Retro. All right, on the TikTok. I only got a couple videos up right now, but I'm going to do some more. I got to
get yourself over.
I got to get myself over, brother. All right. I want to try to be like the, I got to have a bunch of resources. I got to have stuff here, YouTube, I got to have everything on everything. You know what I mean? That's just the way I am. So the TikTok video is basically girls putting on makeup and they're doing the scene from the movie or like this musical from the scene, or they, somebody maybe into a song or something of when, Lydia and Beetlejuice are going back and forth, and Beetlejuice is trying to convince her to say his name. All right, so that was a whole TikTok video where the girls are doing makeup, and they're doing makeup for both Beetlejuice makeup and Lydia makeup, and they just act out the whole like song. And apparently they went like viral and stuff. And I think that helped like get people to notice Beetlejuice some more, plus the merchandising. So apparently the studio Plan B, all right, is the ones who picked up the sequel that's supposed to be coming out May 10th. Oh, no, it's supposed to be coming out September 6th of 2024. All right?
Yeah.
So a couple things. Obviously, it's going to be directed by Tim Burton again, which is cool. And it's going to, bring back a couple of the people in the original movie. Like, apparently Michael Keaton's coming back. Winona Ryder's coming back. Catherine O'Hara is coming back. And of course, the new person to the cast, the girl who gotten herself over a lot, being the new gothic girl, Jenny Ortega. She's in there.
Oh, of course.
She's not that bad, brother. Have you ever seen her? Did you see her in the X movie? Have you seen X? You know what I'm talking about? It's about the X one. They're like filming like a porno. Like 1980s.
Oh
porno.
Yeah, she plays the the cameraman's girlfriend. Right?
Yeah.
That's
a strange
She's
movie.
good.
That's a cool little. They actually made that
great film.
Yeah, they actually made that into like a little bit of a series. So, like they had like that they got that new Maxine one coming out. Those would be kind of fun to talk about. Those are actually some of the new age horror I like. Is like those films.
Yeah, those are all really good movies. I mean, they have a good director. They have good.
Yeah,
they're just good.
So, but Plan B Entertainment is kind of interesting, too, because apparently that's Brad Pitt's production company. All right?
Yeah, Brad Pitt's a huge fan of Beetlejuice.
Well, they probably got the rights to it, and they knew this movie was going to be a success. I mean, I'm saying, from basically from the 90s up to now, I mean, I'm pretty sure a Beetlejuice movie would have came out, and it would have been a success. I'm not sure about 2000 to 2000, maybe 15 or something might have been a little tough because there wasn't like a whole lot of talk about it. But it seems like right now they're really they're capitalizing on the merchandise, that new merchandise that came out with Beetlejuice, nostalgia for Beetlejuice, because a lot of obviously Hollywood's doing a lot of remakes of movies. As we've seen, so they're capitalizing on that, and plus like the TikTok viral stuff too. So, and of course,
I guess
go ahead.
I guess the TikTok girls kind of made this popular again.
Interesting, huh?
Kind of like they have with the Deftones, which I always think is kind of
well. The biggest one,
it can infuriate me, but
no, the Allison, the biggest one.
Cute.
You forget about this, but I don't know if you even know. But you know which one they actually made popular? What is your band Ghost?
Oh no, yeah, that was the first one I'd heard about. Was like Ghost is big now because of TikTok.
Yeah,
like they're selling out arenas because of TikTok. There's no doubt about that. But Ghost got big because of it. But I just think it's cute. At least Ghost is a current band though.
Yeah,
like I think it's kind of cute when they feel like they discovered something that nobody knows about, like the Deftones.
Yeah, no.
You know, I
One
have
of the
like
biggest
20-year-olds
bands.
asking me if I've ever heard of the Deftones, and I'm like, yes, of course I have.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But you know, like also too, you know, this one also the sequel is gonna have a big cast. I mean, come on, like you got Michael Keaton back, Winona Ryder. She's coming off this huge success of Stranger Things, so it's gonna be a big ass movie. So it's gonna be pretty fun. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how it took so long to get this movie back up and going. And of course, you know, they were filming this part of this movie. They had to shut it down because of the whole pandemic stuff. So that's why it took a little longer to come out. So, but yeah, pretty fun though. So I'm excited about it. You know, I think they'll do a pretty good job. And I was gonna ask you though, because I am not super familiar of recent Tim Burton's work. Like,
yes.
What has he done? Like lately?
I was going to bring that up. That's probably why we're getting a Beetlejuice sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's not done nothing, but you know, you gotta, you know, he directed Dumbo.
Okay.
Which I did not see. He directed a movie called Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, which I did not see.
Yeah.
He directed a movie called Big Eyes, which I did not see.
Yes.
Okay, he directed.
He did do. Okay, I'll give him a shout out for something. He did do a couple episodes of the Netflix series Wednesday.
Hell, you're right. He worked on Wednesday.
So that was
he worked
good.
on Wednesday.
That was good. That did some good shit.
But the last movie that I saw that Tim Burton directed was Sweeney Todd, and that was like 2007.
Yeah, 2007.
So
yeah.
he needs a big hit.
Yeah, he needs a big hit. Yeah, because movie wise, like this guy hasn't done anything besides like Ed Wood and Big Eyes, which I didn't see either. Yeah, I think the last one I saw Sweeney Todd too. That was a fun one, and he did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as well too, which was okay. But yeah, he definitely kind of needs a bigger movie hit. So I think he's banking on this Beetlejuice too, which I think it'll do I think it'll do big. I think it'll do a big one. So probably when it comes out, we'll probably talk about it. Might as well. Sure. So,
and then one final thing about this movie, about the production of this movie, is that this is like the first movie where Tim Burton started using his regulars.
Yeah.
So you know, like Pee-wee's Big Adventure didn't really have any regulars that would go on too much. But this was like the beginning of. He's one of those directors that uses the same people all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
very Carpenter.
Somebody likes, yeah, like Carpenter. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, so he would use. Catherine O'Hara was in. She played Shock, and Sally in. I believe she played Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas. And then Glenn Shaddix was in Nightmare Before Christmas as the mayor.
Yes.
So he would use some of these people much.
He used
later on as well.
He used Winona Ryder again. She was in.
Oh yeah, of course.
She was
He's there a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's used her in Edward Scissorhand and Frankenweenie, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we talked about that. I mean, you know, obviously, if they have a really high profile director, you know, they're gonna like certain cast people. Like they'll bring them along with them. You know what I mean? So John Carpenter's done that. You know, Tim Burton's done that. I think Steven Spielberg has done that as well too. So
yeah, he does that a lot.
But everybody, let's get into the full review of the Beetlejuice.
Let's do it.
From the director of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Adam and Barbara are ghosts.
What's the good of being a ghost if you can't frighten people away?
Their house is being haunted by the living.
Maybe the house could use a little remodeling.
And they can't scare them into leaving.
They're dead. It's a little late to be neurotic.
So they're calling on Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice!
Who's no ordinary ghost.
You don't want his help.
Can you be scary?
What do you think of this?
Now, the party's over.
You want somebody out of the house? I want to get somebody out of your house.
But the fun has just begun.
It's showtime. Learn to throw your voice, fool your friends, fun and party.
Not bad.
This is amazing.
You want a cigarette?
Oh, no, thank you.
Oh, yeah, here I come, baby.
He's guaranteed to put some life
Attention,
in your afterlife. Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Okay, so we start off the movie. So a couple of things I noticed with this film, like right away. So this film really wasn't like structured like a horror movie. You know?
No.
It had a lot of horror movie. It had certain horror movie elements to it, but to me, it was structured more like a family friendly, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style movie. You know what I mean? Like a little bit like that style.
Right. I think that's what it was supposed to be. Like, it was supposed to be like a really dark kids movie.
Yeah. Like, I think it's one of those movies where if adults would get some of the references that happened in the movie, but they could watch it with their kid because they're not like blatantly out there. But there was a couple like adult references in the movie, but they've done that in 80s movies a lot. Like the example I give out is Clue. Like the Clue movie that came out. Have you ever seen Clue?
I saw it when it was new, but I have not seen it since.
They branded that shit as a PG movie. It's not PG. Okay, let's just say that.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's a crazy one. But that's what I noticed right away. So, you know, there's semi-horror elements of the movie, but it's mostly structured to be like more of those like family-friendly style movies. But it still works out, though. I thought it still did pretty good. But we open up with the whole town, and this is when we meet a lovely couple of Adam and Barbara. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you say their last names?
Maitland.
Maitland's, yeah, that's what it was. All right, so we meet them, and their big thing is they're taking a home vacation. So they're on vacation, but they're spending all at the house. All right, nothing wrong with that, brother. So they have this is kind of weird. I don't really get this. So they have a lady trying to sell their house named Janice.
Yes.
But they don't want her around. And I'm like, can they just do that? Like, can realtors just like come to your house? Like, hey, why aren't you selling your house? I'm like, well, fuck, I never asked you to, I want to sell it.
Oh, yeah, they can. They do.
Okay. I never had that happen.
And they can make a lot of money. Well, so like, yeah, so that's actually happening to me now.
Oh, shit,
not realtors so much, but like down in the community where I live, like it's kind of like a little secret hideaway that not a lot of people know about, but people are from out of state are starting to find out about it. Kind of like how they ruined Asheville 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So now, like, I'll be out like at the brewery or something, and there'll be like people that just walk up to me and like try to buy my house.
Interesting.
So yeah, realtors do that. Like if they can make a lot of money off that, like remember how she's saying that, oh, I can sell your house for $600,000, which is an insane amount of money, probably in 1988 for a house like that.
Yeah.
I can sell it for $600,000. You're going to make a lot of money, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does happen. Like, I mean, I was at the brewery the other night, and this guy, like this random guy just walks through the door and literally asks everybody in the brewery, do you know anybody that's selling a house?
Interesting.
Like that, I mean, that's just fucking insane, right?
Yeah, I know. Damn.
Like just walk into a random store or business and ask if anybody knows if somebody's selling a house. Like that's fucking insane. But anyway, yeah, it does happen.
I think
so. This realtor.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think it's weird to me because the house I'm staying in right now, we were actually trying to sell this house in like 2015, 2018. Nobody would even look at the motherfucker. You know what I mean? And like probably now somebody would buy it up quickly, but we don't have anybody begging under our door or nothing. So it's interesting. And this area is a little bit more populated than your area.
Yeah, but that's why though, is because see, like up where you live, housing prices have already gone up, and they haven't started going up here yet. So everybody thinks they're going to move here from Buffalo or whatever and get a deal.
Yeah,
instead of paying $800,000 for a house where you live, they think they're going to come down here and get a deal. But
yeah, well, that's what they're trying to do.
Sadly, fucking mistaken.
Exactly.
Anyway,
well, you stood your ground just like Adam and Barbara did because they told her to go hit rocks. Even though Janice, the retailer, she said, "Well, this house is too big for a non-family." They got all pissed off about her. So now the husband Adam, he has to go get some stuff from the store for his model set. All right, so they drive down there. We see more of the town, which I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a shit ton of the town in the new Beetlejuice because nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like it where the barber guy was trying to talk about, like, you know, just ramble on about haircuts, and the guy wasn't paying attention to him. That was pretty funny. So he gets in there, and then now they're driving back, and he's all like, Adam's like, well, you know, like, why did you want to stay here on vacation at the house the whole time? We could have gone to Jamaica. She's like, well, you know, gotta stay by. So they almost hit a dog, and there's like a bridge that goes from their house to you know, like a little bridge area that connects the bridge to their house. And they run off the bridge. They kind of like crash through like this little barn part of the bridge. And the dog's staying on the one wood that would keep their car from falling, and gets off, and then they fall down to the water. Which is crazy. It was supposed to be like a little bit more like dark, you know. You actually could have made this movie like pretty dark. You know what I mean? If they did like Beetlejuice Uncut or some shit, like you could have made this pretty dark. So now they get back home and they realize they didn't turn on the fire. They're all wet and stuff. And then they realize the wife, Barbara, can't get burnt. And then they see a book about a guide to being deceased. So this book would actually come up a lot in this movie. And everybody was asking him, did you read the book? Did you read the book? And I was like, man, did Allison write this? I mean, fuck. Because you know the book.
Yes.
You're big into
the book. I wrote this. Yeah, and yes, I wrote this.
And they said the book, too, was hard to read. It's kind of like reading stereo stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Maybe he did write the book. So, they can't really, like, read the book too much because it's written in stereo or something. Or, like, you know, I guess stereo books are written in, like, code or whatever. So, you know, they eventually figure out that they're dead. All right, because they can't see themselves in mirrors. They can't see themselves in anything. And they're kind of wondering, too, like, why are they here at the house? Like, why aren't they in heaven or hell? Or is this heaven or hell? They have no idea. And where's all the other the dead people at? All right. And this is when we get Beetlejuice, and he is looking into the paper to see if he can find himself a job. All right. Yeah. And he found out that the Adam and Barbara, they recently died, so he thinks they would be pretty good, and they'd be pretty good suckers. Right?
Yeah, because he's a bioexorcist.
Yes, bioexorcist, yes. What a job title. All right. I wonder if I put that title on Indeed if I get a couple of good jobs, you know?
Oh, you should do that. You should definitely do that. Get hired as a bioexorcist.
Yeah. I mean, come on, brother. I could do it. You know? All right, so this is when they see Janice, the retail girl. She's all dressed in black, and they try to call out to her, and they realize they can't talk to any humans because it was rule number 2 in the book.
Mm-hmm.
All right, should have read that book.
Yes.
So now they're sleeping, and they hear a noise, and this is when we have the family moving in, and this was the same family that the Janice was kind of said they was interested in the house, the Dietz.
Yeah.
All right. Of course, we get Charles Dietz, we get Delia Dietz, and then we get Lydia Dietz. And of course, you know, right away you can see, okay, we got the daughter is kind of like a gothic style girl where she likes the morbid of the house. The wife is more of a new age art Richie designer type of wife. And the Charles guy, he just wants a quiet house out there in the country. All right. And apparently, fucking Delia, she brings her interior designer everywhere she goes.
Yeah, Ortho, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, that's a fucking weird name. So basically, Otto and the wife, they're trying to make the house different because the house kind of has like this whole like, you know, country bumpkin look. All right. Yeah. And they want to make it like new age art to work. And the couple, Adam and Barbara, they're not liking that. First of all, they don't like people coming into their house. And then they hear that they want to redo the house. So now they're like, okay, well, we're ghost. So let's try to scare them out of here. So they actually try to like they do the closet scene, which I thought that was pretty clever, of her taking out her face, and they do the scene with Adam laying on the floor and her carrying the head, but nobody in the house can see them at all because they're amateur ghosts over here. You know why they're amateur ghosts there, Allison?
Why?
Because they didn't read the book.
Because they didn't read the book.
Yes. That's right. All right. So now, like, the family's kind of going back and forth. So Charles kind of wants to keep the house like it is because he feels very relaxed there because he's not. They moved from New York to this like country house.
Yeah, boo.
The wife wants to make it all artsy and stuff because that's how she expresses herself. And Linda, she's depressed because she's a gothic girl. All right, so we got all that. So a couple of things. So now they're redoing some parts of the house. So my wife is trying to get like her art inside the house, and one of them is actually like a cool looking like hand thing. All right, and the hand thing like breaks the window. She gets caught in it and everything. And this is when Lydia, she actually sees the Adam and Barbara through the window because she can actually see parts of the ghost, the dead. And they were all trying to get into the basement area, but they didn't have a key because that's where Adam and Barbara are hiding out. And eventually Janice, she brings over the key. It's a skeleton key. And she says, like the couple used to live here. They're the ones that died and they drowned in the lake. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So now
they died in a car wreck.
Yeah. So
now, it was kind of in a lake.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it fell into the lake. It's a car wreck that fell into the lake. So the big thing is Lydia. She's trying to get in the basement, and they try to stop her from getting in there. And this is when they see an ad for Beetlejuice. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is when we find out he's like the biotech guy. Okay. Yes. He's the afterlife. Basically he's there trying to sell them on using him if you're having trouble trying to get people out of your house, and he will possess them. He'll do whatever he needs to do. Hell, he even possess himself to get you to buy from him. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's because he's like the opposite of an exorcist. So instead of getting a spirit out of a person, he gets like people out of like places where ghosts live.
Yes. And all I gotta do is say his name 3 times. All right. Mm-hmm. And he does this whole thing. It kind of like one of those like corny like car commercials where he's like in a cowboy hat and stuff. All right. And he talks like a million miles an hour. That's just how his character is. So writing detailed notes about all his jokes was a little tough. The Adam and Barbara are thinking about maybe using him, but they don't want to. They're all new to this, so they don't know what to do. But Adam did remember, like, hey, the book said we could draw a door, so I'm going to do that. And he eventually does a door, and it opens, and then Lydia kind of sees it a little bit, this door opening. So she kind of knows there's something going on in this house. So this is when Lydia tries to tell her dad about, the ghosts in the house, but he's out there watching birds. All right. Eating corpses and shit. Right. And he's also, the dad is also seeing around the neighborhood too, and he's coming up with a couple ideas because he's also I guess his former job is like building and doing estates or building stuff. Like he can transform towns and stuff. He did a little bit of that in New York. So now we have Adam and Barbara. They go to the demon death room. Okay. To try to check in. It's kind of like a hospital checking room. Yeah. And this is when we see the girl. Yeah. The waiting room. We see the girl with the half body there. We see the guy with the shrunken head. We see the smoker. It's basically showing how a bunch of people died and they're in this waiting room to get assigned to where they need to be.
And, so they all died and now they're waiting to be assigned wherever they're going. Yeah.
Yes. So they check in, and the counter girl is giving them some shit. She's like, well, we gave you 2 months. You couldn't figure some stuff out. Did you even read the whole book? I was like, no. Here we go again. Did you even bring the book? No, we didn't. Oh, fucking failing.
We didn't even bring the book with us.
Didn't read the book. All right, so she's like, okay, we got to wait, and you got to see your caseworker. All right. And this is when Lydia, she finally goes into the basement and she sees the toy display. All right, and then she starts reading the book that they left. So now, a funny part is Adam gets offered a cigarette from the burnt guy, and he said the burnt guy is trying to cut back.
Cut back, yeah. Haha.
Then we get another joke of a guy who got ran over, checks him in, and he's like, hey, is there any mirrors around here? They're like, no. He's like, okay, I was feeling kind of flat. Ha ha ha. So, yeah.
Yeah. These are some jokes, son.
But everything looked cool, though.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very cartoonish, like anime. It was pretty cool looking.
Very Tim Burton.
Yeah, so they go meet their caseworker. All right, Johan, I believe her name was. Mm-hmm. And she's basically was giving some shit. She's like, hey, well, basically they were told to go through door number 6, okay, and they're going on this like very Tim Burton hallway made from our boy Bo. And the one room I thought was interesting that they might play into the sequel is the Room of Lost Souls. So basically, the Room of Lost Souls is like if you actually got an exorcism, this is where you would go. Like, if you inhabited somebody and they exorcised you, you would go into the Room of Lost Souls. So I thought that one was interesting. And then, of course, when they go through their door, they just go back inside their house, which is all now done up from the mom. She has made it all into her artsy house, and they can't stand it. They don't want these people here at the house. They want their house to be normal, and they just want to be left alone. So this is when they meet the caseworker. All right? And the caseworker is basically saying, you guys suck at scaring people. Okay? He's like, hi, did you even read she reminded me of you, Al. Did you
read the book?
Did you even read the book about how to scare people? They were like, no, we couldn't figure it out. It's like, well, if you did, there's a whole chapter on how to scare people, and you totally failed at it. Right? So, like, the chapter was you got to start small, and then, because how are you supposed to scare somebody that can't even see you? Right. So she was telling about that. Then they ask about Beetlejuice. They're like, don't say his name. She's like, yeah, that guy used to be my former assistant. He's a little crazy. So he left and he became like a freelancer. He's been hanging out at your graveyard trying to get some work, but I wouldn't do it because he doesn't work well with others. So I would start to stay clear as far away as you can from that man. And they're like, well, can we get more answers from you and stuff? And she just like disappears. So now they're kind of like, well, I guess we're just going to do this on our own. We can do it on our own to scare these people out of here. So this is when we see some pro wrestling on the scene. I believe it was like, I couldn't tell what territory it was, but it kind of looked like AWA because just the way that it was like on the background it looked like it was AWA, and it looks like it was the Crusher doing his like his Von Erich Claw type of maneuver.
Yeah.
Like, but could be wrong. So the wife fell asleep. Apparently the wife is a big fan of wrestling. Hey, can't beat that. So the Adam and Barbara, they try to scare everybody by wearing designer sheets poked out in the holes, into the eyes. So the first one they try to scare is Charles. And he just thinks it's Lydia trying to like get him because Charles was on the phone, right, with his boss from New York because Charles realizes like, hey, and you'll like this one, Allison, he's trying to take a small town and make it into a big conglomerate commercial area.
Do you know what? You know what about that? The funny thing about that is a lot of times these small towns don't really want to be made into large conglomerate areas. Exactly. Sometimes they kind of like to be small towns, like they always have been.
Nope, and, not according to Charles.
But you know where they have big towns, though? New York, and you could always go back there. It's still there.
Well, no. he doesn't want to go back to New York. He wants to make this.
Well, I don't care.
This place. He wants to bring New York to him, brother. All right.
No, he doesn't. If he wants that, he should go back to where he came from.
Yeah. So Max isn't really feeling it though. All right, but he said like maybe I'll come and visit you or not. So now the couple they didn't scare Charles, so now they try to scare the wife, but she's like super, and she's passed out pretty much. Lydia can hear all the moans and stuff. She thinks at first it's just her family being, her mom and dad just being sexually creepy. But then she realizes it's actually, because he takes a couple pictures of them, the Adam and Barbara, and she realizes in the picture they have no feet or anything. So she realizes that they're ghosts and stuff. And then she starts asking them like, hey, are you guys like ghosts like from like the Living Dead? And they're like, what the hell is that? It's a movie. So we got a Living Dead reference on Beetlejuice. All right. So then they're talking everything, and Adam and Barbara are just like, well, we're just trying to scare you guys to get you on out of here because this is our house. You guys are kind of ruining it and stuff. And we were in the other room trying to scare your mom, and Lydia's like, I ain't gonna scare them at all. I mean, she's not my mom; she's my stepmom, and she's sleeping with her favorite Valium this time. So apparently, the girl Dela, she likes to take a little Valium.
Yeah, she says she's sleeping with Prince Valium.
Yeah, Prince Valium. Yeah. So. And she's giving him Lydia also gives him shit about the sheets, these designer sheets and stuff, and it ain't gonna scare nobody. So also too, Lydia, she also read the book too. So she read more of the book than they did, and she was getting how she was saying like the reason I could see you guys is because in the book it says the living can't see the dead unless you're weird, and then she goes on saying that she says some gothic shit about her being, weird and how she can do that because she's a strange creature herself. All right.
Yeah, because she's so weird.
Yes. So now the next morning, Lydia shows the mom the photos of the ghosts and stuff, and the mom basically just blows her off, saying like, "I got this big dinner party coming on, and you've been not cool at these dinner parties at all. I need you to step it up. These are my friends over here. I gotta make this count. All right, and all this ghost stuff is a joke, so don't bring it up." All right. So So Barbara now sees. So Barbara and Adam, they're kind of like, they really don't know what to do because they're all new to the scaring stuff. So now they see a little light by their little display, and they're kind of like fed up. So they're just like, the Barbara just spits out, okay, I'm just gonna do it. She says Beetlejuice 3 times. And then they get transformed into their model. All right, and this is when we finally get to see more of the Beetlejuice like character. All right, so there's like a sign out there that says "dig him up from the grave that he was in." So they're digging up part of the displays. You see a casket. Beetlejuice pops out of the casket like he's flying and everything. He's so happy to beat them. He starts kissing on Barbara. All right, then he asks Adam like, "Hey, everything going well with you two?" And then, like, they really don't know what to think of Beetlejuice, so they're asking him what is his qualifications. And he's like, well, my qualifications? All right? He's all like, I went through the Black Plague, and I seen The Exorcist like 179 times. That's my qualifications, and I'm dead. All right? It's like, okay, well, are you scary? Then he does, like, this scary thing that scares him. All right? And then they're about to leave because they can't handle him. And then he tries to warm them up by dressing like them. All right, and he's like, all you gotta do is just, sign me on. He's just basically trying to sell it to him. He's like, hey, let's go back and have some dinner and stuff. And eventually, Barbara says home 3 times, and they get on and out of there. And then now Beetlejuice is mad because they left. They didn't hire him for the job, so he's getting all pissed off. So basically, everything that the caseworker was saying was true. Like he doesn't work well with others, and he's a little creepy. And he's a horny guy, which I'm pretty sure we didn't get any on the animated TV show of him being a
I'm sure we did not. Yeah, I'm sure that was probably skipped.
Yeah, that part was probably out of there. All right. And then, like, Barbara's like, I don't want to hire this guy. I don't want to expose him to the fucking kid because he's a pervert. All right. And then they're gonna try something tonight at the dinner party, and they think they got a great idea. All right. So now we're at the dinner party. we have the whole family there. We have Otto, and then we have apparently we have the wife's lawyer, and then 2 other of her friends there. Okay, and at first Otto, he's the one talking about like suicide and paranormal shit out of nowhere. I was like, okay, because he's like he knows all about that too, just like he knows designing. And Lydia was saying that she knew about ghosts and stuff, and the mom's trying to like change the subject. And right when she tries to change the subject, this is when we have the whole dinner singing scene.
Where they're singing the Harry Belafonte song.
Yes. And apparently, a couple of things about that. After this movie was released and stuff, and that song, I guess they played a couple of the Harry songs. Mm. And both of those songs actually became pretty big hits again after this movie's release. So that's pretty cool. Because they originally were gonna play some more updated R&B style music, and I believe it was somebody's idea. I can't remember it was somebody's idea of playing these songs. I believe it might have been Catherine's idea to have like some of these like older songs with it, and they liked the idea of that. And after that, it actually became the hits, reformed again. So they're doing the whole scene. It's actually a pretty cool scene of them dancing and everything, and doing the dance party stuff. And they get
that was really cool.
Yeah, they get the hands on their faces. They get pushed down, and the couple's all happy. Like Adam and Barbara, they're happy. Like, yes, we did it. They're definitely going to be fucking out of there running. They're going to be running out there anytime soon. They don't see nothing. Lydia comes up like, hey, everyone wants to see you guys downstairs. All right, and they're like, what? So
guess what?
So now the whole dinner party and everything, they loved what just happened. They're like, I never knew I could do that. I never knew I could dance like that. And the mom is basically saying like, oh yeah, I didn't want to tell you all our secret and stuff about how we had that. Like the house was possessed by ghosts. Like, see these photos? We had these ghost photos there. And then now the business mind starts kicking in, saying Charles is like, well, fuck, I mean, we could probably make this like a big time dinner attraction.
We could make money off.
We can make money off this, brother, of these ghosts in here. And this is when Otto also says, hey, your boss guy Max, his wife loves the paranormal and stuff, so he'll definitely come on down here now. As long as you have evidence of all this stuff. And so everybody was pretty cool about it, but then apparently Dila's lawyer guy didn't believe all this shit. He's like, listen, I've lost money doing all of your wife's ideas before and all of her projects, all her crappy art projects. So this, I don't believe it. I got to see these ghosts with my own 2 eyes. Lydia comes down saying, hey, these ghosts really don't want to see you. They were actually like trying to scare you guys, not like entertain you. And they're like, well, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, they don't want you to hear in the house. And then the lawyer guy was like, see, I told you it's all like a scam and shit. And he's like, unless I see this stuff, it's all going to be fake, and I'm getting out of here. And he calls her a flake. Not a fake, but a flake.
Yeah, meaning she's like flighty and kind of crazy. And
yeah.
Have
you ever been called a flake before there, Allison?
Nope, never.
Yeah.
Not ever.
Yeah, we're too hardcore, brother.
We're too hardcore to be a flake, brother.
Yeah. All right, so now the parents and Oda, they're kind of pissed, and they demand to see the ghost in the attic. All right, so they get inside there. Adam and Barbara are hiding. All right, and Lydia's saying like, hey, they're probably leaving because they're like hiding because they're nice people. I don't want anything bad to happen to them, And now Charles, he sees the display of the town. He's very fascinated by it. And then this is when the designer guy, Otto, he sees the book of the disease and he grabs the book. And then Beetlejuice is laughing at all of them for not scaring. He's basically laughing at Adam and Barbara for not scaring them, but like intriguing them. So he's like saying amateurs and stuff and making fun of them. Oh, did I talk about the part yet where Beetlejuice? I think that's coming up. There's a funny scene that they slided into this movie with Beetlejuice coming up. So they were like hanging off the window and stuff. All right. And so they all go downstairs because Charles and the family, they don't want to scare away the ghost for good. So Charles now has an idea in his head that he wants to turn the house, and I believe the whole neighborhood, the whole place, into an amusement park.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. So because he was down, he had like a chart, right? He said, well, I could do this old building as some Thanksgiving house. I can do this building is there. This house is a haunted house and stuff. So he's trying to make the whole town an amusement park. And I was like, damn, brother. All right. He's trying to get that
he just wants,
big cash.
Yeah, he just wants to make the small town into like an amusement park.
But what's weird about it, like he wanted to make his house like the main attraction. Like, where are they going to live there? I guess like built himself another house, I guess.
Yeah, he was just going to buy another house in some other town that he can go ruin later.
So also too with this, when they go downstairs, they do get attacked by the Beetlejuice snake. Also,
yes,
that actually happens before he came up with the idea of the. He came up with the idea on the stairs of making this place an amusement park, but then they get attacked by the Beetlejuice snake. All right, and this is when Lydia, she thought it was Adam and Barbara that did it, so she's like not cool with them right now. So she just wants to wander off and stuff because she thought she had some friends in Adam and Barbara, but then this whole snake guy was taking it a little bit too over the board for her.
Right.
Yes. And they did try to harm Charles too. So this is when Adam and so this is the part where we get Adam and Barbara talking to Beetlejuice saying like, hey, you know, what the fuck are you doing over here? And at first Adam was like, well, fuck, you know, that snake thing was pretty creepy. Maybe it worked. Maybe they'll finally leave. And then Barbara's like, well, yeah, but like, I didn't want anything that happened to that Lydia girl. Like, we like her, you know? And then they're talking to Beetlejuice about it, saying like, Beetlejuice like, see, like I could do this if you guys hire me. And they're just like, they're going back and forth. And he's all like, screw you guys, you know, you guys fucking suck anyway. And then Barbara tries to grab him, but he has like this like spike stuff. And then, you know, basically Beetlejuice like, you know, I could do stuff on my own. What can a guy do over here to get some action? And then next thing you know, he like built himself a strip club. The Inferno Room, where we have panties, girls, and air conditioning. All right. I was like,
yeah, there should be a strip club called the Inferno Room.
I know. Brother, I wonder if that's going to be in the sequel. You know what I mean? Just add it up in there.
Maybe.
And then Barbara asked, like, why did you build that? And I was like, I didn't. And then they get vanished back to their caseworker. All right. And their caseworker, she's all upset for a couple reasons. First of all, they haven't taken care of the Beetlejuice problem. And they said his fucking name. She said there's a fucking photo you guys did. All right. And that, you know, Otto guy, he took your guys' book. All right. He says, we can't have the fucking living know who we are. All right. They can't know that there's life after death. All right. And then during this, she has like some football team that died. And a lot of them had to use the restroom. And they think she's the coach.
That was pretty funny. When they're,
yeah.
At the end of that, when he's like, you know, Coach, I don't think we survived that bus crash.
It's like, you didn't. All right. So now Lydia, she's running some goth notes. That's what I put in my notes. About her basically wanting to die.
Is that when she's sitting up there and saying, I'm alone?
Yes.
Or whatever. And I'm utterly alone.
Yes. It's like, boy, we would hear that for ages on ages now.
Yeah, typical goth girls.
So now the caseworker wants to know Adam and Barbara's plan to get these people out of their house. Because apparently, too, it was the caseworker's idea to leave them in the house and to haunt the house. And they're just not doing a good job at it. So they don't do a good job at it. They might be reassigned to somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So this is when we get the famous looks of Adam and Barbara when they do their creepy faces. Yeah, the creepy faces and stuff, which we made like 1,000 toys out of them and figures and everything.
Exactly.
That's why this is made, brother, to make toys. Don't tell me it wasn't. All right. So she's like, okay, those will work. Okay. And so now she's like, okay, I need you guys to go in there, clean up the house, and get back the photo and those handbooks now. All right. So now Lydia is going to go see if she can find Adam and Barbara upstairs. And she's looking around the house and she can't find them. And she eventually sees Beetlejuice like sunbathing. And they start talking back and forth. And he's saying like, yeah, they're gone. The couple that lived, they splits and stuff. And, Lydia's just like, like, I was trying to give him this note and everything. And now Beetlejuice is trying to convince her that hey, if you get me out of here and you make me whole, I will help you, come to the death side. I'll help you out if you help me out. And she's like, well, what do I need to do that? He's like, well, you got to say my name 3 times. She's like, well, what's your name? He's like, well, I can't tell you. She's like, why not? She's like, okay, well, why don't we play a game? All right, how do you got like a paper? He's like, no. Like, why don't we play charades? Okay. She's like, okay. And they start doing the whole thing, and she can't get any of it. And eventually, she gets a beetle because she
gets beetle pretty quick. It's the juice part that she can't get.
Yeah. So, the beetle is quick because he does like a little hologram of a beetle.
Yeah.
And then the juice part takes a little while. And then she eventually says Beetlejuice. And she's like, okay, well, it's like, yeah, so you got to say it, 3 more times. So she says it 1 more time. Then she's like, wait a minute. Weren't you that snake guy? He's like, no, don't worry about that. Just say the name. He's like, okay, I think I want to ask Barbara first before. She's like, no, don't ask her at all. Don't worry about it. Just say it 1 more time. And she's about to say that, but that's when Adam and Barbara come in, and they kind of scare her because they're in their face forms. And then Barbara says, like, don't talk to him and stuff. Like, all right. And then eventually, I guess Barbara and Adam, they realize they're like, we're not really good at the scaring thing, and Barbara really likes Lydia. So why don't we just like rebel against what the caseworker wants, and let's try to live with the family instead of trying to get him out of there. Very wholesome. All right.
No, get him out.
So they tell Lydia all that, and they're all cool. So now they're not going to be using Beetlejuice, and of course he's all pissed. They're not wanting to use him and stuff. So now this is when we get Charles. He is downstairs trying to sell his amusement park idea to his boss Max. Okay. Yes. And he's trying to do all the gimmicks. He has a display and everything. They brought the whole display town downstairs, the model downstairs, and he's basically shown from there. And then his little slideshow of how he wants to make it a whole amusement park. Max doesn't care. He wants to see the ghost. That's why he's here with his wife. Okay. And Lydia comes downstairs, and she is like, "Now they don't want to see you. Like the ghost, Adam and all them. They want to live with us now. So they said like, we'll live all together. Just don't bother them. Like don't talk to them. They can all live together fine." And Max and all them are like, "Okay, is this a fucking scam or what's going on here?" And then Otto says, or they believe that Otto can now raise the dead out there now. Because he said earlier that he knows designing just like he knows paranormal stuff. All right?
Right.
What a career for you, Allison. You could be a designer and a ghost expert at the same time.
I could learn how to design, and then I could be like a ghost expert after I read the book.
See? That's all you got to do, brother, is read the damn book.
All you got to do is read the book.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
So now he is going to summon the dead of Adam and Barbara. And at first they're like, okay, we need some personal possessions of them. And Lydia's like, well, we ain't going to find anything. It's all at the bottom of the river. And I was like, damn, they had all their life possessions in the car with them that day?
She says, she says, we need some personal possessions. And Lydia says, we'll have to go to Goodwill. Because what she's saying is they just got rid of all of their stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But the mom's like, nope, I had their wedding dress and outfits. So they lay those on the table. They start doing some summoning from the dead to raise them. We can see that Barbara first vanishes, and she gets summoned up into her, and then once she gets summoned, she starts to grow like old and starts to melt a little bit, and then Adam follows along with it. And then Lydia's basically telling him, hey, we got to stop this. And Otto's like, well, I can't stop it. It's what's done is done. All right. And then Lydia's all like, she doesn't know what to do at all. She goes to Beetlejuice. All right. Beetlejuice is sitting there in his outfit and stuff. And she's like, hey, I need you to help him. Can you help him? He's like, yeah, I can. But we got to make this right. The only way for me to help him and get out of here is I got to marry you. All right. So if I marry you, all my powers will be up and I'll be in the real world. So that's my conditions of me helping them. And so Lydia agrees, okay, to it. And then she says his name 3 times. Okay.
Yep.
And then here we go, brother. And this part was like super quick, but it was a pretty cool part of the whole film. So Beetlejuice rises up, and I didn't realize this before until I saw some stuff about it. You know, when he rises up in his like little carnival outfit with the stripes and stuff. Apparently, on the top of his hat was a skull face, and that's the same skull face that they used in Nightmare Before Christmas for Jack.
Oh, I did not know that. I need to look at that again. That's interesting.
Yeah. So he comes out there. He's like in this like crazy looking carnival outfit, you know, with the little demons circling around his head and his long arms. Everybody's kind of amazed about what's happening right now, especially Max and his wife. They're like, well, you know, we're actually finally seeing these ghosts that they promised us. So Beetlejuice puts them on like this, like, what do you call it? Strongman thing. You know, you hit the with the hammer and the thing goes up.
Yes.
At the carnival.
I believe that's, yeah. We test your strength.
Yeah, test your strength stuff.
Bing. Yeah.
Yeah, so he puts the Max and her on there, and he smashes it, and they just fucking fly out the roof. And everybody's like, oh, okay, that sucks. I just thought that part was pretty funny. So now Beetlejuice like he takes down the Adam and Barbara, and they're pretty much still running away. He makes the wife's artwork come alive, which I thought that was super cool. You know, that's what Tim Burton's kind of known for, is like stop animation stuff.
I was going to say, like, so he used a lot of stop motion animation in this, which he was famous for or known for at the time, because he was like actually an animator for Disney. Before he became a director. Yeah,
it looked cool. Like I liked it. I liked how her creepy art came to life and shit. I thought that was pretty clever idea. So with the creepy art, they wrap up the wife and the husband in the art. And now Beetlejuice, he turns into his wedding gear. So this is when we get the famous red suit, and then we get the red dress that Lydia is wearing. All right. More toys and outfits for Halloween, brother. I'm telling you. This movie's full of them. So now he wants to go through with the marriage. But our girl Lydia, she is thinking second about it. She's like, no, I thought you were supposed to save Adam and Barbara, and he is basically like not even saving them at all. He was, you know, basically letting them rot. Okay? So he turned heel, even though everybody knew he was going to turn heel. Okay? So he summons up the pastor, the dead pastor, to get them married. And now first Lydia tries to say his name, but he stops her. All right. And of course he says, I do. He does the voice of her that says we do. And then now Adam and Barbara come back from the brink of death. All right. And they try to stop them from getting married by saying his voice. First he takes Adam's teeth out. Okay. Then he vanishes Adam back to the town display.
Yeah.
He takes Barbara. He puts a zipper and a steel on her mouth for her to say. She got closest, though, because she said it twice at least. And then he summons her back to Snake Island. All right. And the parent, it's weird though, because the dad mouth was open, but he didn't say anything. Maybe he was too shocked to. So Adam got inside the car that Beetlejuice was using earlier, and he drove off the display to crash into Beetlejuice's foot before the guy could say, I pronounce you both husband and wife. And then out of nowhere, Barbara uses the sand snake to eat and crush Beetlejuice. All right, to the house. And then now the whole family, I guess the Charles and Dayla, they get to meet Adam and Barbara. They're all happy, and they're all like happy-go-lucky family now because of that happened. So
right.
Yes.
So one thing that I don't know if was clear is that they kind of keep getting shrunk down to the size of the models.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like trapped inside the models part of the time, which is really cool.
Adam
Adam was, which gives the it really allows what's his name, Bo Welch, to really design stuff that looks really cool.
Yeah,
because he's on the set and he makes this like fake model, but it's life size. It just looks really awesome.
Yeah. The when they got transferred to the model town was cool, and when they would go to the Snake Valley, that was pretty cool stuff in there too. So now it's the next morning. Lydia is coming back from school. All right. And apparently she didn't do the frog assignment. This is kind of a weird goth girl because, first of all, she didn't like to do, what do you call it? Like, she didn't like to do displays on frogs. And
she didn't want to dissect the frog.
Yeah, she didn't want to dissect the frog. And she did say earlier that she is not comfortable living in a haunted house. I was like, okay.
That is kind of weird that she would say that.
But now she's comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I think goth girls of the time would not. I could see some of them not wanting to dissect a frog because they're not all as like morbid and violent as they are now.
Yeah, that's true. So, but then she got an A in her math, and basically, since she got the A and the C, she's now her present is doing a dance number while floating. And we could see that Charles and the wife, they knew like, oh yeah, she got her good grades in. And then the wife scares Charles with her new art display, which was the Beetlejuice snake.
Yeah.
All right. So then we cut. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did we explain that the Maitlands are now living? They're small, so they're now living in the model of the house that looks just like the house they used to live in.
Oh, that's fancy. Okay. So, but then they grow larger though to hang out in the real house. Well, if they're living, they talk to Linda. Like, did Linda and the family grow small too, or what do you mean?
No. Okay, so I can't explain that part. But it looks like to me that they're living in a version of their house. I thought, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I thought they were living in the model of the house that he made.
I mean, it's possible, but if they're living there, but we saw this next scene, Linda and then the family, they're all in the same house.
But she's living with the Deeds.
Yeah, okay, but if she died and moved over to the other side, did they have like school when you're dead?
No. So, okay, so something changes to where they can all see each other. So she's just going to school.
No, they could see each other because the ghosts let them see them. Like, they can all just see each other now because they know they said if the living knows that the ghosts exist, that they could just see them permanently now. And so the mom, the dad, and Lydia, they know that the Adam and Barbara exist, so they could just see them freely, and they're all going to live together because they all agreed, Adam and Barbara did, that they can all live together in the house together just fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, because like
but the reason I say that is because she seems to be like living with the Maitlands. Because remember, like she So she goes to the Maitlands in the little house. Well, she goes to the Maitlands, and then she says, and then she shows them her grades, right?
Yeah.
But she's not their kid. She's the Dietz's kid.
Yeah, but I thought they were all just like friends.
And then the Dietz are like, oh, she must have got good grades or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just kind of a weird ending for what you would expect it to be.
But I don't think they had Lydia die, because with Barbara, one of the things she talked about, like Lydia, before all the wedding scene and everything happened, Lydia's like, yeah, I wanted to kill myself to, like, be dead like you guys. And they're like, no, you don't want to do that. We're dead, but we want to keep you alive.
Right. Okay.
So that's why I thought, like, they basically decided to live together in the house together just to be, like part of the family now. Adam and Barbara.
Okay. Well, fair enough. And I also never realized until I watched this movie how much that it's kind of a metaphor for like people from a big city moving into a small town and trying to take it over.
Oh yeah. And I didn't either. Yeah. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I never realized that until now, because that's kind of affecting me now. Of course, I haven't seen this in years, but it's kind of affecting me now. And it's like, and how, then they eventually learn to live with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Beetlejuice is now in the Dr. Death room.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called, I guess? So he's trying to touch the girl's legs that was split in half, and he gets like shushed away, and he tells the guy at the shrunken head, yeah, usually women love me. And then he asks him like what's happening with his head. He brings out his ticket number. His number is 9998383750000. All right, and up next is number 4. He's like, oh God, he got a little while to go. So he sees the voodoo magic
witch doctor
guy.
Yeah.
He sees that he has number 4, and he starts talking to him. He's like, hey, I like your work over there, what you did with this guy. Hey, is that Elvis? The guy looks over and he swaps the number out. And then Beetlejuice just saying, oh yeah, I gotta get this done because I got a photo shoot with GQ coming up. And he's like talking a little bit, and then the voodoo guy does a little voodoo magic on his head, and he shrinks his head small. And then Beetlejuice is like, oh, this could be a good look for me. And then,
I wonder if his head will be tiny in the sequel.
I doubt it, but maybe. We'll see. We'll see how close they get.
And that scene was actually shot after the movie was finished.
Oh, okay.
So that scene, they actually did the test screening on the movie, and it did so well at the test screening that they let him go back and shoot this little scene with Beetlejuice at the end.
Nice. And then we get Lydia floating, singing the song with the dead football players. And then we get on out of here. So, but yeah, horror comedy month there. So this one was definitely great in a lot of ways. The acting was good. The set designs were good. The storyline was pretty good. I think if you're gonna do a horror comedy style movie, that's PG and stuff like that, like this is definitely the template to do, I would say.
Yeah.
A lot better than the Saturday the 14th template. Just didn't make any sense.
Right.
So, horror comedy month, man. Definitely, this wouldn't be the last time that we would see horror comedy movies, because I believe in the 90s we got the spoof off the Scream movies, right? Scary Movie.
But that's not horror comedy. That's just comedy.
Okay.
To me, Reanimator is a horror comedy.
Well, yeah, but that's a comedy movie that's not supposed to be a comedy, just funny.
No, I think Reanimator is supposed to be funny.
Oh, okay.
I think Evil Dead is not supposed to be funny.
Yes.
The first one. But it just is.
But I mean, we did get a little mix of this whole month of different style horror comedies. Like I think Spookies was a little bit more, even though the movie was weird because it was cut by 2 different people and mixed together. It was
made from two different movies.
Yeah. That was more in the realm of like what we see as horror comedy, I guess, compared to the obvious obviously just not well written and then not funny at all Saturday 14th movies. And then we go to a high budget blockbuster
comparatively
movie as Beetlejuice. So definitely different realms of movies that we did.
Right. I can't decide if Spookies is supposed to be funny or not.
I mean, part of it, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I think it's one of those movies. I was like kind of being serious, but just the way it was shot and filmed and edited and everything, it just came off as so goofy.
Right.
That it fell into the realm of comedy in a way. Except for, Saturday the 14th, both of them were trying to be filmed as comedy movies, but the comedy just wasn't funny. And then we got like this Beetlejuice movie where it was set to be a fun-loving comedy movie with elements of horror in it. So I think we did a pretty good job, explaining the different styles of horror comedy in the 80s. So, like I said, definitely,
I think we did the best we could with what we had to work with.
So I definitely wasn't me in your wheelhouse, but it was pretty fun talking about Beetlejuice because this was, obviously one of the most famous, horror comedy movies out there. So that one's pretty fun. But yeah, I don't know if we'll revisit this style month again. But there's definitely going to be movies that we're going to be talking about that are spoof movies, but they're in the realm of more like trying to be serious, but they're just like funny in that way.
Yeah.
But everybody, thanks for joining us for Horror Comedy Month. The Retro Blood is, of course, moving on us to February.
Sure.
And February, I'm actually pretty excited about this month because we are doing Vampire Month. 1980s vampire movies for February. It's Valentine's Day. You know what I mean? Out there with your loved ones, and we got vampires always trying to find their loved ones. Pretty fun. And the first movie that we're going to be doing is actually very fascinating to me because we haven't done this style before. But me and Allison decided to do, for the first review of February for Vampire Month, we are going for some 1980s anime. And we were doing...
It's a first.
The first time we're ever doing... It's first time for a lot of things. First time we're doing an animation movie. And the first time we're talking about anime here on this horror movie podcast. And I believe it's also the first time we're doing something that's was Japanese, I believe.
No, we did the werewolf movie for a couple months ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, that one was kind of like that. But it was like a mixture between...
oh, that's true. It was kind of Spanish and Japanese.
Yeah, it was a bit of mixture. But this one's pretty fun because, we're doing Vampire Hunter D.
Yes, classic.
Classic, brother. One of my favorite anime movies and manga series of all time. I love Vampire Hunter D. I remember watching this as a really youngster. So it's going to be pretty cool to talk about it on this episode.
When was the last time you've seen it?
Boy, it's been a while. So,
yeah.
Like, I might have seen it like a couple years back, but I don't know if I finished it because... Okay, so Vampire Hunter D, was made in the 80s. So you could definitely tell, like, the production, like a lot of animes in the 80s were... It's just a different style, okay? But then they did Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, okay? And I really like... I like the story of Vampire Hunter D more than Bloodlust, but the Bloodlust, like, it looks fantastic. Like, it looks it looks like something off of Castlevania, like Symphony of the Night. Like, just the artwork and everything, the production is fantastic. But the story, I think, is a little bit better on the original Vampire Hunter D. Yeah, but we'll talk about more when we do that episode, about the manga series a little bit, about, this movie. And it's kind of weird to me, like, they never did a Vampire Hunter D, like, TV series.
I know. I think that's really... I mean, I'm wondering if it's because of the subject matter.
Could be.
Because now they could do it because now they're doing a lot more edgy stuff in TV anime. But like they had to like really tone down a lot of mangas for their anime, the television series versions.
Yeah.
But now they probably could get away with doing it. They would just make it as a mature anime.
Yeah. So I'll do some research about it because I know, off the top of my head some stuff, but I'm gonna deep dive into some of the research about the animes around 1980s, and about some of the horror stuff because there's a lot of like horror anime out there that's pretty crazy.
Yes.
Like, so there's some crazy stories that the animations could do with horror. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week here on the Retro Blood, starting off our February Vampire Month. And then we got some vampire classics on there that we haven't talked about before. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then we might do a Lights Out, but we got to see our schedule and stuff. But yeah, everybody. Horror Comedy Month is over. We're starting Vampire Month next week, so come join us. But Allison, what Riot song do you want to play for everybody getting on out of here?
Oh, man, let's play, you know what? Let's play the title track from Thunder Steel. So let's play the track Thunder Steel.
Ooh, Thunder